Hey, this is Lilypad Leap, the boardless version. So you set up the 16 lily pads like this in rows of 4, and on your turn, you simply move one of your frogs in a straight line to an empty lily pad. So like this frog could move here, for example. It could also go here or here. Let's say it just went to here. The furthest back empty lily pad in the line that you moved, and the facing of the frogs doesn't matter. The furthest back lily pad in that line, it comes around to the end, to the furthest point. And then you try to push a frog you're next to if possible, but there's no lily pad over here, so this frog wouldn't push. There's no frogs here, so none of those get pushed. So nothing happens. Okay, so that's the turn. Um, and then blue's turn. So say blue could go to here. This lily pad, the furthest empty back one would come to here. Push pink to there. Okay, so you win by pushing an opponent's frog into another frog. If you always push frogs, so you can push your own frogs. If you push your own frog into any frog, you'll lose. So whatever frog gets pushed loses. Um, Now, in the case of cycles, the pond will get destroyed. So, for example, if pink moved here, so pink moved, the furthest back lily pad gets moved here, blue gets pushed, and then if blue makes a move this would return this lily pad to the same position that it was, so reverting the lily pads to the way they just were. In that case, the lily pad is instead removed. And it's possible to actually split the pond that way. Oh yeah, and pink maybe push there. So for example, if pink, just to show you how the splitting works, let's say pink goes here and this comes to here. Now blue's in danger because, well, they've got an out now with that, but they're kind of getting a little bit isolated. But let's say, just to show you how it works, let's say blue just went, over to here. Let's move to here. And then pink, pink moved to here. Okay, so that moves to here. And now you can see this this is getting more isolated. Now blue's definitely in danger, but say blue, if blue went to here, blue would actually make themselves lose because they went to here. That would isolate, and the small one will get removed. But blue's going to, let's say, go to here. Furthest back into the lily pad gets moved up. Pink's got nowhere to get pushed to, and now it's pink's turn. Now, it almost looks like blue was able to save themselves with this connection here. And so if pink jumps that way, blue would still be okay. But pink jumps over this way, like to here, then the furthest back into the lily pad gets moved, and that isolates blue here. And whenever an isolation happens, when the pond is split, if there is a group that has the larger number of lily pads, in this case, this main group has way more, so the smaller one gets removed. Anyone who had frogs on there loses, and in this case, just blue does, so blue loses. If both players had frogs, then pink would win. So you're encouraged to split the pond if you can, as long as it's not just your frogs on there. Okay, so that is an example game. I'm showing you how the splitting victory works. And now I'll show you how the pushing victories work. With the pushing, you win by simply pushing a frog, an opponent's frog, into another frog. So, for example, say pink goes here. Okay, and then if, say, blue goes here. Okay, now in this case, blue is actually setting up, well, blue's going to push pink there. Here's a possible blunder. So if pink were to jump here, That moves Lilypad. Pink pushes their frog away. And now blue could jump to here. This Lilypad gets moved to the end. Nowhere to go in this one, but this pink frog could get pushed into blue and pink loses. So you do have to watch out for the kinds of moves that you make. Are you setting up your own frogs possibly get pushed into another? And you can also make moves that restrict your opponent's options by making situations where, okay, if they were to, the place they want to go maybe is dangerous for them to go to. So that's the two ways to win. You can win by splitting the pond or by pushing a frog, opponent's frog into another. Splitting the pond with, with an opponent's frog on it. Something I really like about the game is how dynamic the board is. It evolves quite a bit. As you can see from these demos, the board has some very different shapes. And I enjoy the strategic depth of it. It's kind of fun and challenging to figure out how to move and how to set up attacks. Thanks for watching.